Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, which was a strength of the 2023 team, where they ranked 32nd in total defense and 22nd in passing defense. Let's talk about the guys up front along the defensive line. They lose Teray Jones to graduation, but they do return C.J. Nunnally IV, Bennett Adler, Lama Lavea, Joshua Jackson, and Marcus Moore Jr., among others, and they bring in Nathan Kapongo from New Hampshire. How did that defensive line look in the spring?
Defensive line has been looking pretty well. I've talked to a few people within the team, and they're saying that it's bulked up, and a lot of the guys are more prepared, it seems like, and more focused. And I think, as you mentioned, all those additions through the transfer portal or through commitments has been really, really strong for the Zips.
C.J. Nunnally had a pretty impressive season in 2023. Do you think he can build on that and do even more in 2024?
Yeah, absolutely. C.J. Nunnally and Brian McCoy, they're still big fish on that defense, and they're going to be huge factors going into the season. So look for a lot out of them.
Speaking of McCoy, we'll move over to the linebackers. They return the top two leading tacklers in Antavius Fish and the aforementioned Brian McCoy, as well as Shamon Cooper. But they do lose Corey Thomas Jr. in the transfer portal. He's off to Virginia. How did the linebackers look in the spring?
Linebackers have been looking well as well. As you mentioned, McCoy and Fish, guys I talked about earlier, huge impact. And I think that the linebackers, I think one of the stronger positions that Akron has on defense, and possibly the entire team. If you look at the roster, I think those guys returning is such a big deal for this team.
Yeah. Do you think Fish and McCoy are ready to be tackle machines again like they were in 2023?
Oh, absolutely. I think the mindset is even greater than it was last year. And as I mentioned, the whole team is ready to get wins, and it's going to take a lot out of them to get there. So the tackling machine has got to keep going, be a well-oiled machine.
The defensive backfield was a strong unit, as we noted earlier, ranking 22nd in passing defense in 2023. But they also may have taken the most losses along the defense in the offseason, losing Kerry Martin Jr., Judson Tollander, Nate Thompson, and Tyson Durant. They do return Darian Lewis, Devontae Golden Nelson, and Joey Hunter, among others, and they bring in Damon David from Oregon and Paul Lewis III from Cornell. Kind of who stepped up in the spring for the defense, the defensive back there, to kind of fill those vacated roles?
So David Damon from Oregon is a big deal. It's a big pickup through the transfer portal. I've been hearing he's had a great spring. He's excited to be in Akron. Look for a lot out of him with the Zips team. And then, as you mentioned, we also have a corner coming in. Jarman is his last name. He's coming from a JUCO. He's had a pretty good spring, and I've heard he might be making an impact this year as well. So look for that name coming into the 2024 season.
With given all the changes, do you think they can be as effective in 2024 as they were in 2023?
I think so. I think despite changes, despite staff changes, I think, again, the mindset is win now, and these guys are ready to make a difference in Akron football. And I think that it'll be the same, if not better, for this Zips roster going into the year.
Awesome. If you had to pick a defensive player to have a breakout type season in 2024, who would that be?
Breakout? When you say breakout, is this somebody that hasn't had as much production in the past, or somebody that would be like continuing on their success?
Either or. So they can either haven't had a lot of success in the past and they're going to have some success this year, or someone that maybe had success in last year, but they're going to bring it to another level this year.
Sure. I think I would probably go CJ Nunnally. I think look for a lot out of him. And although, like we said, he's had success in the past, I think going into this year, his role will be so much more and more like improved, and he'll have a greater impact on this team going into the season. I would still go with CJ Nunnally as the impact player on the Akron defense, or David from Oregon. I would also say look for a lot out of him. You know, we haven't seen what he can do in a MAC type of environment yet, but at Oregon, pretty good player. I would look for him to step up on defense as well for Akron.
Hey, a one, a two, three, we cheer the Akron. We cheer